Hi, welcome to Attainable Green. I'm Jess, and today I'm going to do an update on my Paphiopedilum collection. This is a restart of my collection since I didn't do well with them in previous years, so I stopped collecting them altogether. But I think I've gained a little bit more experience and a little bit more insight into growing Paphiopedilums in my environment in Southern California. So let's get started. The first three paths that I got came from Sunset Valley orchids, and they're all potted up in a bark and perlite mix. I thought I was doing pretty well with these until my kid knocked them over a couple of months after I got them. And I realized that there was actually mold growing on some of the roots, so they all had to be repotted. When I repotted these plants, I didn't have too much media to work with, so they were put in a mix of moss and large perlite. It ended up working out because so far these plants are in good shape and they haven't died yet. So the first plant is the Paphiopedilum Macabre Venus. Now this is a cross between the Paph Macabre and the venustum. This is a Mohith hybrid with mottled leaves, and it's supposed to be really easy to bloom. So I was really lucky and I was able to get this one to bloom, and it looked really beautiful. This small success gave me more confidence to grow paphs, and hopefully I will see more blooms in the future. So while this plant was blooming, it also sent up a new growth. And now that the blooms have faded, I cut off the spike and I'm just letting that new growth grow. It doesn't have roots yet, but I know that it'll be coming soon. I topped off the pot with some extra bark media just to make sure that the roots are covered when they do emerge. The next plant that I have is the Paph rothschildianum crossed with Paph Johanna Burkhardt. This is a strap leaf multifloral Paph. That means it's supposed to take a lot more light and it's going to grow to be a larger plant. This is supposed to have a tall spike with multiple flowers, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this one bloom. I've heard that the Paph rothschildianum is a pretty slow grower, so I'm not expecting any flowers soon, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this one mature. So far, it's grown one new leaf in my care, and it's starting its second leaf. It took me a while to get the watering right on this plant because I wasn't sure how much water to give it. So in the beginning, a couple of the leaves got a little bit dehydrated and there's a little bit of pitting on the plant. There is a little bit of mechanical bruising from just moving it about, but I'm not too concerned about that. I just know that the newest leaves are more hydrated, and I'm hoping to keep it that way so it doesn't get that pitting on the leaf. The last plant that I got from Sunset Valley is the Paph glaucophyllum variety moquetteanum. This one definitely got set back the most. When I had to repot this plant, there was white mold on the roots. During my second repot, I noticed that the plant was drooping, so it didn't look very healthy. So 4 to 5 months into owning this plant, I had to repot it once again. I noticed that the plant still had mold on the roots, and I had to clean it up one more time and pot it in a looser mix that got a little bit more airflow and a little less sphagnum moss. So this one was potted up in large chunky bark again, but with a lot less moss. After the second repot, the plant stalled, and it's only in the last couple of weeks that I noticed the newest leaf is starting to elongate and grow. So I'm hoping that this season will give more leaf growth and more vigor to this plant. I really want this plant to succeed. A couple of months after I got my Sunset Valley haul, I was itching for more paphs, and I decided to get some from Paph Paradise. I wanted to try out some species. I heard that there were a few that were more compact in size and a little bit more predictable in their growth pattern. So I picked out a few, and this is how they're doing right now. The first plant is the Paph druryi. Now this plant is definitely a blooming size plant. It has 5 fans, and on one previous fan, there was definitely a bloom spike. I was able to get 2 of the fans to spike. But due to my hiatus in the latter part of January till basically the beginning of March, my paphs didn't really get watered. And because of that stress, I think that the plant aborted the spikes. I know that there are 2 more growths that are continuing on, and I'm hoping that when they mature, then I can see spikes and flowers then. And hopefully during that time, there won't be any stress or other issues to delay its blooming. So far, this plant looks really healthy, and there's also a small little nubbin coming up, so maybe there will be a sixth growth on this plant. The next plant is the Paphiopedilum charlesworthii. This one came with one fan and one small new growth. For the longest time, this plant did absolutely nothing. But in the past couple of weeks, it has started a new leaf in the center of the mature fan, and the newest growth is also starting to grow as well. I'm thinking since it's spring, it's definitely signaling to this plant to start growing. The next two plants are two varieties of the Paph fairreanum. There is the normal type and the alba form. I got my tags a little mixed up, so I'm not sure which one is which. I'm going to have to wait for these ones to bloom before I can get a proper ID for these plants. With the warmer weather, it's also starting to put out some new leaves. So I'm hoping that these ones will continue to grow, and I'll keep my eye on them. So the last plant I got about a month ago from High Desert Orchids. This one is the Paphiopedilum QF Mini. This is a cross between Paphiopedilum and Paph rothschildianum, and it makes for a very miniature-sized mottled leaf Paphiopedilum. I'm really interested to grow this, but I'm also really nervous too because the smaller the plant is, I feel like they are a little bit more sensitive, but since it's a hybrid, I'm hoping that it's hardier than I think it is. So far, it's growing one new leaf from the center of the plant since I've got it. One thing that worries me about this plant is that the newer leaves are smaller than the previous leaves. I'm hoping that that is a temporary situation and that the new leaf that grows in my care will be larger and more robust. That way I know that the plant is doing well. If it starts to look a little stunted, I may have to check the roots and repot this one. So that is my entire Paphiopedilum collection. For now, I'm keeping these plants on a west-facing windowsill to get afternoon light. I'm trying to give it as much light as possible and see how the plants react. If the plants start turning a little pale and it looks like it's getting too much light, then I can work to give it a little less light. I also water these plants about once or twice a week, depending on how dry the media is. Some of these plants are potted in a bark mix, so I know they dry out a little bit faster than the ones potted in a moss and perlite mix. So far, these paphs are doing well, and I call it a success that 1, they're all still alive. 2, I haven't had any major rot issues or dehydration issues, so I know that I'm not overwatering my plants or underwatering them by far. Also, I was able to bloom one of the plants, which is a great success for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing many more blooms and many more growths as time progresses. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, Attainable Green, for the latest updates. And hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Bye!